Right. Hello, welcome. My name is Amanda and I am a Step Up job coach. And we are here for the Step Up Level 1 Supervisor Orientation for summer 2022 and the Quality Internship Experience. The first thing I want to talk about are sort of the components of a well-planned internship. That's going to include the work plan, which is going to be that biggest gear of the first week, and then also mentorship. When we're thinking about creating a high quality internship, some of the things that we really want to focus on are creating a work plan, and that's going to be a maximum of 20 hours per week, communicating, making sure we're providing instructions for our interns, not assuming that they're going to know what they need to do. Being intentional, that special attention that first week really makes a big difference. It's where you get to build the foundation of your relationship, giving them the expectations of their internship, what they're going to be expected to do. Mentoring and coaching, this might be you, this might be other people within your organization, but it is an important piece and we want to make sure that we are including that intentionally and it's not an afterthought. And then also safety procedures. Preparing for the interns. So this year our internship dates are June 27th through August 26th for most of our internships. Making sure you're preparing a work plan for the internship. There is a sample on page 39 of your handbook. Contact your interns, making sure by June 24th that you've been in touch with them, that they know what their expectations are for that first day. On page 43, there's also another sample that you can look at. And then planning and building a welcoming environment, making sure that they feel that like they belong. So some of those key components is that work plan. Again, this is that biggest gear, does most of the work. This is where you and your internship are going to set your plan for how the tasks are, your projects, their schedule, any learning opportunities that you plan to set up for them, and how that all just comes together over the internship period. The second is, again, that first week, right? This is so crucial for setting that foundation. Again, being really intentional, creating that strong start. And then finally, mentorship. This is, I feel as a job coach, really one of the biggest pieces. If you can build that relationship, have that mentorship, it really just sets you up for success. It is important for everybody to kind of get the most out of the experience. While this is like a job, it is also a place for them to really kind of understand like what work and relationships and having somebody who encourages you and having that make a big difference for their success. So you want to build that internship work plan. This is going to start by identifying work for your intern. So you probably already have the Step Up job description form. This is where you might want to ask your colleagues for their ideas, connect with previous supervisors. And you might have already started some of that already. So just making sure you're just kind of revisiting that, making sure that's still the right thing. Structuring the work plan. So making sure we start simple, increase difficulty, in the beginning, giving them simple projects. So they can, again, build on those skills. And then making sure their goals are measurable. It really helps them if they know what the end goal is and how to get there, how they know when they're successful. So some of that process is, doing something simple in the beginning and then building on that, increasing in difficulty. Maybe at the beginning, it's a little bit more supervision and maybe they kind of work towards being able to do certain things on their own. And then making that work meaningful. Projects, try to vary, give them challenge, give them choice whenever possible, and focusing on those deeper development of skills. So I know some sites are maybe gardening or working with children. And so sometimes those day-to-day can get a little bit tedious, but if you kind of focus on like, hey, if you build these skills, this is how this can help you in the future, that's going to help. Connect that to the workplace impact And then just building additional career exploration opportunities. Where can they use these skills either in a similar job or even in something different, but where those skills can transfer. Here is a work plan template. This is page 39 in the handbook. We'll provide this template by email, and then you can also find it linked under the documents for the Step Up Supervisor resource page. That page is really just going to be really helpful to you in general. It's going to have a lot of the information that you're going to need that you can find. And then although you can't see this full template here on the screen, there are two primary sections, the job performance goals and the professional development opportunities. So there's going to be a number of areas where you can list the general job functions, areas of the work activity. There's also space to detail the duties, activities, and tasks that make up the larger job function. This is just a great way to be sure you're giving the intern the full scope of what's going to be expected of them. It also helps give clarity on when they need to complete things, who's going to be working with them. And we'll talk more about that shortly, but we really just want to continuously to tie our tasks and our interns' performance in these to skills that they're learning, that they're going to be able to use successfully in further development. So thinking about like providing the instruction. So who, what, where, when, why, how, and how, right? So kind of like before we kind of dive into that, I just kind of want to talk more generally. Again, the best way is to making sure we're providing instructions. Again, not assuming that they're going to know what they need to do. For a lot of us, we've been in our career fields for a while. And so things that are second nature to us need to be broken down into smaller, easier ways for that to learn, for those interns to learn. So just keeping that in the mindset that some things might be more challenging. Make sure we're as clear as we can, break down each task, and like explain who's going to be carrying out that work. Especially if you have a group of interns, making sure who is responsible for what is done, what is expected, where are they working, when the task should be completed, and also just like who they can go to for questions. If it's you, if it's other people, just making sure that there's a real clear chain of communication. And then also make sure before you're finalizing anything, try to get their input as well. Tips for a successful first week. This is going to be setting those clear expectations from the start, explaining policies, if they're going to be late or they're going to be sick, who do they need to call, or should they call? Do they need to call, text, email? Every work site is going to be different on that. Explaining our policies regarding attire, personal calls, phone usage. Some sites will provide a uniform or a t-shirt. Others, there's a little bit more flexibility, but just making sure that all these expectations are set up front. Providing a tour, introducing your intern or interns to other employees, people that they may be working with. Again, creating that sense of belonging. Discuss logistics of lunch and breaks. Some sites don't have a refrigerator. Do they need to pack a lunch? What's around there? Should they want to buy lunch? A lot of the parks have lunch programs. Is that something nearby? Just really figuring out what those details are so it's not something that comes up and then they're kind of like freaking out about it. And then discussing and finalize the summer work plan. And then let's talk about creating a welcoming environment. Having the workspace ready, clear guidance on what they're going to need to perform their duties, especially if they're remote. Letting coworkers know when the interns are starting or that they're starting, asking them also to sort of be enthusiastic about them being there, promoting a bias-free work environment, asking about themselves, learning about them, again, creating that relationship, doing a quick check-in every day is nice, maybe like a bigger, more formal check-in weekly or bi-weekly. We just really want to make sure that they know how they're doing, that they're getting feedback, and making sure if it's something that they need to work on, that it's constructive. And then encouraging other people, again, to interact with them, that sense of belonging. And then you can see some of these things in page 10 in your handbook. So making a difference. When we asked our interns, was your summer a valuable learning experience? So interns who had somebody who talked to them about their future, they definitely had a stronger sense of this was worthwhile. So you can see those numbers versus people who didn't have somebody. Like this is big. This is why that mentorship piece is important. Asking them about like, what are your future plans? Do you want to go to school? What do you want to learn a trade? You know, what it makes you you. And just really, again, setting those relationship pieces is going to make you probably happier with their work performance. They're going to want to work harder. They're going to want to be there, and that makes a big difference for everybody. So when you are thinking about who's going to be the mentor, making sure that's clear. Sometimes it's you as a supervisor, sometimes it's somebody else in your organization. We just really don't want this to be an afterthought. We really want this, again, to be intentional. The goal is to have somebody who is taking that time, talking to the intern about what they want in their working world, their career aspirations, what they want, what success looks like to them. If you as a supervisor are also the mentor, make sure that these conversations are away from those day-to-day work conversations. Make sure it's a little bit separate. Within that mentorship, again, page 35 in your handbook, just talking about your experience is going to make a big difference. Share your story, your work history, how you got to where you are. And again, just our own personal stories as well. And then using our own networks to sort of enhance their experience whenever possible. So when we asked our interns, did your job help you decide what career to pursue in the future? Interns who had somebody who talked with them about their future, again, a lot higher on that agreeing side. So even if this job isn't for them or this career field, like I said, you can still build skills, talk about things that they want to do and what they would need to learn to be successful. Another piece is our safety procedures, making sure that you're reviewing child labor laws, which is on page 50 of your handbook, providing orientation for the work site and any equipment that you're going to be using, making sure they don't operate any equipment that they shouldn't be, what they need to know in emergency, following our local guidelines on COVID safety in the workplace. I know COVID we're tired of it, we're done. But unfortunately, COVID is not done, and it's constantly moving. So just making sure that they're aware that the things might change. It's just how it is. And then making sure we're collecting our emergency contact information on that first day. Sometimes it's going to be the parent or guardian, but other times it might be somebody else. So just making sure you have that right away. If we do have any injuries on the job, obviously the first thing is going to assess that. Do they need care? So determine if the injury requires emergency care, call 911. If it requires non-emergency care, or if it's just minor and doesn't require any medical care. Our step-up interns are covered by workers' comp, and so we really have to be diligent about documentation. If you have to call 911, making sure we're also letting our emergency contact know, their parent or guardian. 911 would be called in significant injuries, eye injuries, burns, suspected broken bones, bleeding head injuries, chest pains, breathing, back or neck strains, any injury that could result in lost work time, or any injury employee who requests medical care. If the emergency appears to be life-threatening, definitely call 911. In this, we'll obviously address the emergency first, but then making sure you're letting us know. So Jeremy Lundborg would need to be contacted right away, as well as your step-up job coach. If you let us know as your job coaches, we can also loop Jeremy in, but we need to have a completed first report of injury, which is in your policies and procedures handbook on page 25. So that can be faxed or emailed, or your job coach usually can also come pick it up directly from the worksite. Just some big child labor laws to be aware of. Our interns cannot work before 7. They cannot work more than 8 hours in a day. They cannot cook or bake on the job. This one is always kind of hard to understand for some of the work sites. Microwaves are okay, but only when they're preparing a meal for themselves. So they can't use the microwaves even to prepare meals for like a childcare site. They couldn't prepare that for snack. It would need to be one of the adults. No use of ladders or scaffolds or any power equipment, lawnmowers, weed whips, things like that. If you have any questions, please contact Sandra Brick. She's going to be that first point of contact. Her information is here on the screen. And if you can't reach Sandra, Leona is also a great contact. Thank you, and we look forward to working with you this summer.